I think, in fact, Vaishna and I, we were discussing last night over dinner, and Seema was telling me on way, what's this thing, the term about curated news, right? Curated media. I was also thinking on the same lines, why curated as an adjective? I found it's a redundancy, and as right from we are sub-editors, we have been taught to avoid, to cut off redundancies. But today, we realize that we are in the process of discussing the situation we are in, have got used to so many redundancies, as many oxymorons. So essentially this topic, all the three topics we are going to discuss here, I think revolve around one redundancy and one oxymoron. The redundancy being curated media, that so much that we have to qualify ourselves as something which is a product of good curatorship. The other one is, of course, an oxymoron is fake news. Because no news can be fake by the very construct of it. News has to be fact-based, so you don't have to add an adjective whether it should be fact-based or fake. But we live in a situation where, as I said, we are forced to use these adjectives and oxymorons. So that speaks a lot about what kind of a place we try to practice journalism in. And we have to say good journalism. So I think as Ram presented so meticulously, we are dealing with misinformation and disinformation. He has made the distinction between misinformation and the other one. Misinformation is we are all guilty of. Sometimes, we inadvertently make mistakes. But then there is this concerted effort to spread disinformation by design with the consequences even being decided beforehand. So in such a situation, I think the editor should not be dead. The editor might have made a climb down from their ivory towers, or maybe from their glass cabins in the modern open newsrooms. But I think the editor needs to be all the more alive. We live in such times. I'll encapsulate, I think there are 2 or 3 major threats, challenges, as the topic of the day demands, curated media and its challenges. Challenge 1 is, of course, as I said, fake news, of course. The second challenge is that good journalism, constructive criticism being labeled as fake news. That is equally, I think, important, that the establishment, the governments, and their troll armies have been working over time to brand journalism of courage as fake news. I think that is a very clear and present threat. So as again Mr. Enram pointed out, there has to be a space for citizen journalism, but there should always be a distinction, an informed decision of the reader to be made available to the reader, which is curated media and which comes from unverified sources or sources of questionable integrity. So, what is the third challenge? I think a byproduct of this is that a younger generation. I'm happy to see a lot of young faces, journalism students here. A lot of them there is a risk of them getting conditioned by the climate that we live in, because probably I think all of us, I would consider all of us as the Archaeopteryx. Zoology students might know Archaeopteryx is that clawed thing that flies, which is supposed to be the connecting link in evolution between reptiles and birds. So the generation before us were all high-flying birds, like Enram and Arun. So, and we all face the allegation of a new generation of journalists who started crawling. So I think we are the Archaeopteryx, and hence we bear the burden of kind of being, enabling the next generation to take wings, or at least not crawl. So I think that is a bigger challenge, I think, of my generation of editors and journalists, to train journalists not to be lazy. Lazy journalism is often a byproduct of this climate, I believe. Lazy journalism is better than disinformation, of course, but then that is no answer. So I think the answers lie in just the challenges might be new, but I think the solution is old. Practice just pure good journalism. I think it was Charlie Beckett, professor of London School of Economics, who said the best thing that happened to this generation, best thing that has happened to journalism is fake news. I completely agree with him because I think fake news, it is going through a cycle, it is speaking, and the wave is about to crash. And fake news will give an opportunity for people to realize the importance and credibility of good old journalism.